Welcome to Boxcars, Warmachine and Hordes supplementary podcast for warroom.pl YouTube channel.
Hello everybody, this is episode 24 of Boxcars. I'm Marcin and I'm playing minions.
And I'm Rafał and I'm still playing tricks. And
hello everyone.
And we have a special guest.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No problem. That he is very special because he showed that Orboros is not sucky or bad or whatever. He won one of the Polish Masters in Poznań like 2-3 weeks ago. And it's Tomasz or Tom from Poland, right? You can tell about yourself, what you're playing and where are you.
Hello everyone. My name is Tomasz. It's my nickname is Musha. It's probably not really intuitional for all you English speakers. It's MUSZA on most forums. I play Circle Orboros, and that's probably it.
You should have a nickname, Tom Fly.
Yeah, I should. I'll think about
English.
it.
That would be English. Okay, Marcin, it's your...
My floor, yeah. So on the weekly or every 2 weeks we've got a night stream. This week I know how soon this episode will drop, but I should try to continue with the streams. But I don't know how regular they will be. Also, I have a plug on Vassal. Recently, Line of Sight podcast has made an episode about Vassal and how to play it. So everybody of you should go and listen to that and play on Vassal.
Yeah, so Marcin has an opponent.
So
not the Arek, the same one all the time.
Yeah.
But Arek is won lately a local tournament in Szczecin.
Yeah, so. Congratulations, Arek. You assassinated me again.
The same way.
The same way, as usual.
But does Legion, assassinate the other way? I mean, it's always the same way.
No, they can do it differently. But twins usually do it the same way. But I have
they
an
lose
excuse.
The army and win.
I had a toothache, a really bad one, so I have an excuse. I wasn't thinking straight.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, but so let's go on track with our podcast. Oh, right. I know what I wanted to say before we start. God damn it, people! Stop talking about trolls all the time in the podcast. I really am full of that. I like trolls as a faction, but like 90% of the podcast is like half of the time talking about troll dojo. That's enough. That's really enough. I'm afraid to open my refrigerator. It's
the thing is, I told you, check Lorma Hordes forums. Trolls are the most popular faction according to the number of posts. I think they are immensely popular in the USA. Maybe not on the competitive level. But
I know, I'm just joking around. But I'm joking because there was a period of time, like a week, because I listen to a lot of podcasts. I wouldn't say to all of them, but I listen to a lot of podcasts when I work out. And I work out a lot, so it's a lot of time I have to spend. So like there was a week or maybe 2 weeks of time that there was a Trollbot episode or part of troll episode every single, so like 5 or 6 or 7 hours of just trolls. So I just said, come on, that's enough. That's really enough. I cannot listen to any more troll dojo.
Tomasz, do you have any troll player in Krakow?
There is one, but he play very rarely and very casual. So I don't know much about troll bloods.
Oh, one question: Are you part of In the Wymiar club?
No, what's that?
It's a Silesian club.
From Silesian club, yeah.
No, they have their own clubs in Krakow,
Okay. I mixed it up. Poland is so big that I sometimes mix it up.
Yeah. Geography, not the strongest point.
We play in Vanaheim. Maybe you know the name. It's a store as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was a time I ordered from them and it took 1.5 months. Yeah, I know that.
You should be more positive, Marcin.
Yeah, I'm positive.
I'm sure that PP that didn't have the goods on stock.
No.
So
my fault.
Do you have still the toothache or not?
No, not anymore. I did get antibiotics. Funny thing. My doctor, when she was doing on Friday, she was doing the tooth, and she asked me, did you hurt with the tooth before? I said no, and she said you will be a bit afterwards because that's inflammation. It's natural reaction, so you probably will be hurting a bit. So with that said, I was hurting whole Saturday and taking some drugs, and then hurting whole Sunday and taking some drugs, and then it really got painful. So I called her on Monday, and she said, "Why didn't you call me earlier?" I said, "You said it would be hurting, so I didn't." No, but I didn't mean that much. So doctors,
depends.
Yeah. You should be aware that some people have higher pain threshold, and you shouldn't tell to them it will be hurting you. Or you should be telling me if it hurts, then call me. So no.
Yeah.
So that aside. So we are a Warmachine podcast talking about toothache.
Yeah.
But we are not as bad as some of the podcasts. So just a couple of minutes side round.
No name calling. No. Okay, so we will start with because it's not normal, especially in the whole world, to win anything with Orboros. I know for sure that I think Colin from Australia has won CanCon this year in January with Orboros, and there were some tournaments also, discount games, that somebody won with Orboros, but it's not really it's not a Krieg style, okay?
So, yeah, the statement should be it's not normal to win something with Orboros. So.
Yeah, especially in the Western Europe and USA, that's for sure.
But it's normal in Poland, right? Because that tournament was like crawling with Orboros as usual. How many Orboros was there?
6 players.
6.
Yeah.
How many players total? 40?
34.
All right.
So like 1/6 was 16% was Orboros. Not possible. We were at ClockCon 2 weeks earlier.
It was 200 players and maybe 2 Orboros.
Yeah, that was funny. I mean,
yeah, I've heard that in your previous podcast. But the same weekend, the Masters took place in Poland. There was a guy called Gord Wepler who won with Circle Orboros Masters in Canada. It was quite a big event.
So it's possible.
So somewhere in the world, some people are winning with Orboros.
Yeah.
With tell me better.
It starts now.
Yeah, it starts now with the new team forces. Tell me, Marcin, have you seen that anybody won anything with Signar?
No, I'm not playing Signar, so why should anybody win something?
Okay, minions.
No. There was actually more... Lately, there was more minion wins than Signar wins, funnily enough.
Yeah, it's amazing. But we are still sidetracking all the time. So, Tomasz, how long do you play Warmachine? And did you play any other game before?
So I've started playing Warmachine this year. It was April, so 8 months ago, not a long time ago. And I had some background in wargaming, but really it was a long time ago. I was playing Confrontation by Rackham quite a bit.
Old school.
Yeah, and I was playing in a lot of tournaments. I was really living it. And as you know, Rackham bankrupted. So I've tried myself in Warhammer 40k, but my army got banned after a month because it was overpowered. So I had to sell all my minis; they were useless.
What was the army?
It was feral orcs army because they didn't get a codex for quite a bit. They released a errata or something like a theme force for them. But I've started playing this game and I won my first tournament after playing like a week, so it was really overpowered. And then most tournaments in the world were won by this army. So Games Workshop realized that it is probably overpowered. Like Orc, who was 1/3 of the cost of a Space Marine, had almost the same stats. So it was stupid. So
they were feral.
Yeah, they were feral, and you played like 200 or 300 minis. So I didn't even put them on the table on the base. I just dropped them like like trash. But anyway, they've banned the army, and it was so specific you couldn't play any other orcs army with it, with 200 same guys, and one squigoat, which was a big dinosaur. So I sold the army and tried to play Warhammer Fantasy Battle, but it wasn't my thing. So I was about to quit wargaming when I saw Warmachine. It was release of a Mark 1. I've bought every battle box I could, every except Menot one, but there was some rundown tutorial games in a local game store, and I've played 2 games and I said that this is not for me. It's just those warjacks were useless. I didn't like the system, so I sold it, and that was the end of my wargaming career for like 9 years. And I got back into board gaming recently, like a year ago, and I sold a board game on the internet to the local guy. He wanted to collect in person. He came to my place, started talking about Warmachine, and I was surprised, like, this thing still exists. And he said, like, we get Mark III, and it's really good. And in Krakow, there are a lot of players. You should try it. And after that, like 2 weeks later, I've bought my Orboros army and started playing.
So you are a nerd. Is it a nerd or a geek? I don't never know.
It's both.
Yeah, but I think the geek is more positive, and nerd is like, like playing World of Warcraft all the time.
All right.
So something like that, I think. So it seems. But when I listen to you, I can hear in the voice, in the timbre, and in the things that you don't say when you are saying something, that you are of the same stock as us.
As who?
As us.
Oh yeah.
You don't mess around, it seems, concerning the list building and things. You don't waste your time on playing things that are not, on the equal level. I'm not going to say overpowered, but on the certain level that it's not fighting against your own army and against opponent, but rather trying to play something competitive, I would say. Is it right?
Yeah, it's always been like this. And to be honest, I wanted to go back into Warmachine to play some casual games with beer and stuff, but it never works like this with me. I've been always a competitive guy, not sure if it's a character, if it's testosterone or whatever.
You put your minis on the table and then you change into an animal. Wargaming. Terror.
Wargaming animal. Yeah, the terror of the forest. So.
Yeah, but it's true. I spend a lot of time and I really commit myself. Like I told you before, when I was preparing for Masters, I was dreaming about Warmachine in the night, so it was crazy.
Oh, that's normal. Don't worry.
All right.
You don't have to take.
My psychologist told me it's normal.
No, it's better like Sheldon. My mother got me tested. I'm normal, right? So, okay. So thanks for the preface. And we will start now with the meat. What are your favorite casters? You play 8 months, so maybe not many, but what from those that you played, what are the ones that you like the most from Orboros?
So maybe I will start from the beginning, because I've tried most of them except for Kruger's and Morvana 1, because I just felt like they are not good enough. And they didn't fit Theme Forces, which when I started playing were a thing. If you don't want to play in a Theme Force, you are down like 20 points or 10, 20 points. So I would rather be in a Theme Force. So before the theme drops, I was playing a lot of Mossar and Tanit. Tanit was, of course, a battle box caster, so I've spent most of my time mastering rules for the game with her, and I really like her. But then I've moved into some casters like Wormwood and Mossar, who are more of a control caster that allow you to really control the board and affect it in some different ways, with many possibilities, not only melee army oriented or defensive army, but you can change a lot of things on the table. So I stick to Mossar, which at the time was had this opinion of a very weak caster.
Yeah.
I built him in the Wild Hunt with Wolves of Orboros in ambush. So his
and you killed many casters with these ambushes.
Yeah, it was like when I first started playing him locally, no one was aware of his caster kill potential. So I won many games with assassination, but then people realized that if you are like 17 inches away of the edge of the board, and when you are like 20 inches away from any guy, you can be killed like easily. Then people started tweaking their game, and I started tweaking mine. So it became from assassination play to really attrition and scenario play, and I really enjoyed it. But then the Theme Forces dropped. We got Call of the Wild, and I decided to try Una. I've tried her with 5 Griffins, and then I realized it's like my caster. I was born to play her. So I bought another bird, and then I bought another bird, and I probably stopped at the number of 9. Then I realized that too many birds is not really good for her. So I stick to Una, and I really like her game style, gameplay. So I would say she's my favorite caster at the moment.
I will just ask something about Mossar. Marcin, do you know what Mossar has the best spell in the game? And it's not their guidance.
Pillar of Salt?
Yeah, it's something for you, because he's salty all the time. So this is your favorite spell, I suppose. Pillars, not just a salt, from the salt shaker, but a whole pillar.
I need that as
Armor 20, if I remember correctly.
My own ability, Pillar of Salt.
Yeah, mini hit.
But I'm only salty about overpowered things like Kriegs.
Kriegs lost, okay?
What?
So what are you... I mean, with Tomasz.
Yeah, you were on drugs. Kids
really.
Don't do drugs. Yeah.
No. At least at home. But still, we were talking about Una, and it seems. But do you have any kind of magical weapons there? Do you have a pure block?
Yeah. I actually had 2 pure bloods in my list. Because I knew I could play against Kriegs, so they were like kind of necessary. And also Una suffers from infantry clearing because you can't take sentry stones that are obviously good in that, and Scarsfeld's Griffin has only a half-inch reach. Yeah, so it's difficult to really clear the infantry, and infantry is really good at clearing birds. So I needed something that could do the job. And Pureblood with Hand of Fate on it is really good at it. Like you have 10-inch spray that with Rat 5, but effectively it's math make it
7.
like 7. Yeah, with Hand of Fate, and you can obviously boost your hit.
Important ones.
Yeah, you probably never need to boost a damage roll if you have Hand of Fate on you and you're trying to kill infantry. So I was trying to play different lists of Una, and this one was that I found the best. I mean, not the best overall, but it was the most versatile. Because I could play many matchups and I didn't suffer with lack of armor cracking ability or infantry clearing ability. It was
she's your list to go. And the second list, but we are talking about the casters. So Una is okay, Una is good, Tanid was okay, Mossar was okay. I think he's in the wild, in the Orboros team, he's still okay, I think, with the ambush. It's
it's really strong in scenario rules of 2017.
And anybody else that you like also, or have you played that Wormwood? I suppose it's still okay in the.
Wormwood is
control.
Really strong. Really strong, gives you the control. But I didn't want to play much Wormwood yet because the endless possibilities of this caster makes your clock go away like crazy.
Yep.
So I started playing Wormwood just recently to master it.
Don't do that. Please. Let the tree grow somewhere in the wilds.
Yeah, in the Puszcza Białowieska.
Forgotten. So maybe some crazy Polish politician will cut it down or whatever. Just don't play the tree.
I guess you don't like it.
No.
Nobody likes it.
Nobody likes it. If you're up against the control. Currently, my minions struggle versus control. They don't have any good spells that prevent pushers or knockdowns, etc. So it really sucks.
All right.
But and if you were to rate somebody, I mean the casters of Orboros, the top 5 from your point of view, from your perspective, would be. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to put it, number 1, number 2. Just
in order. It's hard to say because I haven't tried them all, like without Krugers and Morvana 1. Let's say
Morvana 1 is not popular, but Krugers are quite popular.
Especially Kruger too.
I've played against him, but I never played with him, so can say if he's strong or not. Against him, I played 2 games and both which I won. So I guess he wouldn't be in my top 5. I would put Una 2 obviously there. I think she's one of the strongest casters now. I would say Kaya 3. I love her and she's really good, both in melee-oriented army, basing on the synergy, and I've tried her as a gunline with great success. I was surprised with that. You can
gunline?
Sorry?
Gunline?
Yes, gunline, because in Orboros you have many units and things that have prowl, and she's got Fog of War, so you can have whole your army with stealth, and she gives your army reposition free all battle group, so you can shoot and reposition back. So it's a good thing. So you're like 13 inches away from the threat. So if your opponent has threat shorter than 13 inches, you're just you're just killing him. You get 2 turns before he goes into you, and your shooting is quite strong. But the list suffers from scenario play, so I've put there stones to just contest zones, so I can be as far away as I could possibly can. So
I have a question. The shooting part is done by Bones of Orboros, by the shrimps.
Yeah, most of it. I've tried her in few configurations. In Bones of Orboros, it's Waldwirts and double battle engine. You can shoot and port it back with stones, or obviously you can port it forward. But I like her the most with in Secret Masters. It's a new theme force of druids. You can mix both stones and living war beasts there. So I put purebloods, double purebloods there, and 3 Waldwirts, and it makes the job done.
Okay.
You have sprays, you have purgation, you have many shots, so you can clear everything, or just soften it before it goes to you, and then you put up synergy when he's in melee with you, and you start your synergy going on. So it's really strong.
Okay, interesting. Nobody plays like that. I never seen that.
Yeah. Can you do gunfighter attacks with synergy?
No, you can't. No. You can't. Okay. So you need to put something. I've put there those guys, World Watchers. They have this ability Stoneform, and they get
a lot of armor.
Yeah, 21. So they are quite survivable, and then they also shoot. But the most important thing is when your opponent tries to kill them and they hopefully survive, they can start your synergy going on, and then you have double purebloods to and your caster obviously to finish the job. Okay,
interesting. So we've got Kaya, we've got Una, we've got Wormwood. Also, Mosar is pretty okay, I think. Did you play Chromax?
Yeah, I've played second Chromac. I haven't played the first one, but I have a list in my war room to try it. The second one is really strong, and it's a caster that can play with Storm Raptor, and I really like this model, so I like Chromac. But I don't think he's like our top caster. He's really strong, but he's like very obvious in his game style. If you have longer threads than Chromac, you are probably going to win the game, right? So he has his strengths and weaknesses, but in a large meta, I'm not sure if he can make it. He's not versatile enough. And as a fifth caster, I would probably put Baldur second.
Yeah.
Epic Baldur. I think he's really strong, and I don't like playing him, and I think people are really tired of playing him, but he makes the job done. He's really defensive and full of armor. So he. The thing is, he works really well with your other list, because if you play Orboros, you need a list that can crack armor. So you like Una second or Kaya 3, they can crack armor with no problem. So you ask your opponent that question, but sometimes you need the opposite matchup. Makes you take something totally opposite. So Baldur is good for that. You can play like a Cador style brick game with your armor 22, 23.
Can you deal with my armor that you cannot remove with dispels?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. So
because I mean he's the Bard without the galleon of the Orboros.
Yeah,
I think.
Bard of
it's
the
the same
Orboros.
spell. Bard of the Orboros. I lately heard that Bard is, if you had to play mercenary spam, Jack spam, Bard and Magnus are the best ones. So, and I agree with that. So, and Baldur is always pain in the ass because of roots. And because of stupid, I hope that they will nerf the big ape and he can be debuffed, and then all the crits voices will rejoice.
Yeah, so
nobody.
Let's go on. Don't go into don't go into mercenaries. You don't even play them, so stop pretending like you know something. So the Orboros community.
I have this lovely list of Gaston Cross, but I'm not going to talk about that. Okay, thank you.
Maybe next time I will allow you. So the Orboros community seems to be like down a bit on Orboros in general. There's a perception that in States a lot of top players that were playing Orboros left for different factions. So what your thoughts about it? You frankly are keeping yourself motivated because you play 8 months, so that's everything is completely fresh for you. So I don't think you have a problem with being motivated. But what would you tell the rest of the community to motivate them?
Oh, there are two kinds of community. My local community thinks that Orboros is overpowered, and in Poland we obviously have
everything is overpowered.
Yeah, right. But in Poland we have a lot of good players playing Orboros, and it's
Poland is a different. Yeah, Poland is a different planet if it comes to Orboros. It always was.
Yeah, so like Orboros is kind of like a boogeyman of the meta. When you are going to a big tournament, you need to be aware that there are going to be a lot of Orboros players, and you need to take them into account when you're building.
In Poland, it's completely different if you go to the international meta, or
I know
you can forget about Orboros and you have to prepare for Signar, for example, and you can forget about Signar if you go to Polish tournament.
Yeah, right. So I'm in this Circle Orboros community, and obviously I'm watching a lot of battle reports on YouTube and podcasts and everything that's Orboros related or tagged with Orboros name. So I know there are a lot of people saying it's worthless and it's one of the worst.
No, don't mistake that. One of the worst factions is Minions. And please don't take my spot away.
Yeah, all right. So we are the second worst.
The trolls are the second worst. Minions are the worst, and you are third worst. If it comes to that. All right, the trolls might be a bit better after the CIDs.
So I've been watching a lot of lists from the tournaments, and there was just absence of Orboros, so you couldn't even try a list of someone that won a big event because no one won a big event with Orboros. So I've trusted my guts and I stayed positive and motivated. I was following a lot of dojos and battle reports of Orboros players. Even they said they suffer a lot from just being weak. I found some mistakes in their gameplay, and I found that there is no really a better or worse faction if you're playing the game correctly. I mean, being aware of all the win conditions, staying awake with your clock, being aware that the game will end after the 7th round, that you need to play at least 15 seconds to finish the round, and all those things that matters, and scenario. And I think it's more important than actually your faction, understanding the matchup, asking your opponent questions. And on the Masters, I was probably a big pain in the ass for my opponents because I was asking a lot of questions before the game, and when we were playing, I was asking about every possible statistic and every possible ability just to stay awake, know what's going to be relevant for the matchup, what can win the game and what's going to be problematic. So when I realized that you have the chance of winning with whatever faction you're playing, and you should do it. You should stay positive. You shouldn't be let down by people that say that something is crap and it's worthless. Yes. So but in the community there was a big it was a surprise because I've put a picture of my trophy from the tournament saying I won with Circle Orboros. I knew it will be a surprise because no one expects Orboros to win a tournament. And then the same weekend, another guy posted himself with a trophy winning with Orboros. So the community, it was a positive sign for a community that you can win the game and you should go back to Orboros if you put it on somewhere else and started another faction, because it can win you a game and it's a lovely faction with many possibilities and nice miniatures. So don't let it down because someone tell you that it's crap.
Yeah, that's clearly a sign that Orboros is overpowered. If a player after 8 months playing wins a Masters, that's clearly a sign. If CID comes, I will be posting for Nerf.
Yeah, that's one thing. But the second thing is that before the final game in the Masters, he won against the guy that is on Polish WTC Team 1 since ever, and he has a record of 26-1 at WTC games, and he won with him. So we send the greetings to Tomasz tutaj. So the Orboros must be OP because it's not possible to win against him if the faction is not OP. So yeah, that's why we invited you to the podcast so we can ask PP to nerf Orboros.
Yes, that's clear.
I was really lucky in that game, by the way.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah,
but luck is part of the good generalship.
Luck favors the both, right? Or something like this.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks for explaining. So let's go forward with our questions. So when you do the list dojo for preparation for the tournament, how do you come up with a pair that will be the right one for the tournament?
I usually start with Baldur because I know he's just strong and he asks your opponent. Yeah, he asks your opponent a very strong question. Are you able to crack my armor? And it's a lot. And Waldraff has Sacred Word, so you can't throw any spells at him. So I started my list building in most of my tournaments. There weren't a lot of them with him, because if you are not able to crack his armor, you are going to lose the game probably. And the second army, I wanted to be Una because since I started her in Call of the Wild, I just felt in love and I felt she's very strong. The ability to lower Animus costs is really good, and I wanted something totally opposite to Baldur, and she gave it to me. Like, she asks your opponent question like, are you able to hit my Griffins with 15 defensive stat and elusive for free on them, so they are going to have this elusive every turn dodge, right? And she can crack armor really easily. Like, actually, in the tournament, I was surprised when I was doing caster assassination in 2 games. I took the odds machine application. You know it, guys? Yeah, and I calculated probability of killing opponent caster with only 1 Griffin, and in the first game
with the flank.
With 1 Griffin and 1 in the flank, but the one that was flanking wasn't attacking. It just ran to give the flank. and the possibility was like over 90% in both of those of those games, and they weren't really weak casters. So when I was building the list, I realized that I can crack armor, but I didn't realize it's so good. Okay, so
can you just remind me what's the threat range of a griffin on Una's feet with apparition?
So it's a thing that you have a hunter's mark. So it's 12.5 inch. With apparition, it's 14.5. And if you are able to put hunter's marks, it's 16.5. Yeah. So quite a lot, and your opponent...
Too much.
Yeah, it's much, but the good thing about this list is the threat range is quite a theoretical, because you don't always get that long threat range. You're not always able to put hunter's mark when you want it to be, but when your opponent asks you a question, how long is your maximum threat range, you tell him the longest you can go. So it scares your opponent, and they are playing KG and keeping his caster really back in the kill box or something like that, or they take a risk and put their caster.
And you risk two griffins with defense 15 and dodge that will jam his opponent the worst case. So yeah, that's a pretty dicey thing to do, to come closer. Without taking everything into account. Yeah,
right. So
that was the thought behind your pair. Can you also tell me do you do some specific tournament preparation, like analyzing the list of your opponents and analyzing the meta surrounding the tournament?
Yeah, I did it because I'm not really experienced player, and I haven't played with many casters in the game and many armies, so I have little to none experience. So before the tournament, when the lists were public, I printed them all and started analyzing every single one. Like if I knew the list, I just put my pairing to it. I put if I wanted to play like Baldur, Una, or something else. And when I didn't know a list, I started analyzing the cards in a database, what they can possibly do if there was a battle report on the internet. So I've analyzed that as well. So I didn't want to be surprised by my opponent. So I've prepared a whole list of what I should drop against a particular opponent and what I should be awake of during the game. So if someone had some counter charge or counter slam or some crazy trick up in his sleeve, I just pointed that out on my list that I took with me to the tournament and had with me and looked at it before every single game.
Yeah, that seems like a lot of work, but
it took me quite a while.
Yeah,
Much you know something about that.
Yeah, I've done this like for a year but after a year I stopped, because then more or less I know most of the casters now, so I don't have. But I still do myself list analysis and meta analysis before tournaments, but a more general one. Just to know what will I drop into what factions and what most popular caster pairings because me and Rafa, we go to international tournaments where the lists are not public, so you never know what we will face on which tournament, but you more or less can know international meta, so most popular casters you can prepare for.
Yeah, it's a good thing to do.
Yeah, right. And every meta is a little bit different, right? So, I mean, German and French, for example, or Dutch or Norwegian or, I don't know, English meta is different than Polish one. So every time it's something something new. But the good list and good players usually can prevail. I think What do you like more to go first or second? Do you have any idea, or just depends on the matchup and everything else, or you have preference?
It depends. With Una, I almost always want to go first to take as much board space as possible to threat my opponent almost in the kill box after the first turn with my threat ranges. So this is the play I'm probably 90% going for. Except maybe if one side of the board is crowded with forests that I can take advantage of, I would probably go second. But I probably never had a game that I wanted the side of the board as bad that I gave up on being the first. And Call of the Wild is designed kind of to go first. We have +1 to starting roll. So with Una, I'm going to go first. But with other casters, it's not always the thing. Like with Baldur, I really want to play scenario game most of the time. So I'm always considering being second. And like in the final game with you, Rafał, where one of side of the board wouldn't allow my huge bases to move freely, I would be stuck with the
behind
side
the
of the
terrain.
board. Yeah, because of the terrain. And I would probably lose the game before it even started. Like I couldn't contest all the zones that I wanted to. So those scenarios always forces you to choose the side of the table and not to take risk that your opponent won't see it, right?
Yeah, it's funny because Orboros has a Pathfinder almost everywhere, and still they have to obey the rules of the table. So yeah, I mean I understand that because Colossal is a special thing to lead or to put on the table.
Yeah, and I had 2 huge bases. So if you saw that before our game, I was measuring the terrain on the table. If I will be able to port my battle engine behind
into the zone.
Yeah, into the zone before the game, before I decided on which side of the board I'm going to take. So I think it's very important when you have 2, 3 huge bases on the table.
Okay, and your normal game plan is mainly oriented towards attrition, scenario, or assassination, or it depends.
It always depends. Like I said, I'm not that experienced that if my opponent tells me he plays a particular caster or particular list, I'm instantly knowing what he's going to do and what will be his game plan. So I always ask a lot of questions, see how the terrain looks on the table, which is very important for Orboros, I think. Because of Prowl, because of Tracker on Griffins and stuff like that. So most of the time I don't have a game plan before I see the table, before we roll who's going first and which side of the table we choose, and then I ask a question, and then I go with my game plan and what I'm going to do, and if it's going to be scenario, attrition, or caster kill. It all depends. Like that's it.
Okay.
And you say you are pretty concentrated during the game. So do you keep yourself concentrated to avoid mistakes, or do you have another trick?
Yeah, I would say I was on the Masters. I was so concentrated that I lost weight. Like I lost 2 kilograms of water after the event. So it was quite a stress on me, but I was really concentrated. I was looking at the clock. I was looking at scenario. I was asking questions, analyzing all the time. I don't remember a time during the game that I started to thinking about something else or talking with someone else on the table. I was trying to stay as focused as possible, drink as many coffee as I needed, and trying yeah, and trying to tweak my game plan on the go. So you need, if you like, before the Masters event, I've played almost every day. I've tried to play the game, and the only guy that wanted to play with me like almost every day was also Orboros player. So mirrors could be really boring. Like you can play 1-2 games, but then it becomes boring. But because of that, it allowed me to look at the game from different perspective. Like how can you win when you are losing on the table? Like let's say your opponent is attritioning you really bad. You lost like almost all of the pieces, so you need to look at the clock, look at how many rounds are left before the game ends, and how like sometimes I learned that you don't need to finish your turn. You don't need to take every activation if it's not worth the time and the game is long and it's probably going to be the clock like running. You need to make only the moves that are going to allow you to win the game, right? To win on points or to clock your opponent down.
I hate you right now. I'm so fucking jealous because I'm kind of perfectionist. I want to always overanalyze and make every move count and every activation to be just perfect. And Rafał knows how many times I lost on clock because of that. And the game state, if you looked at the table apart of the clock, it was just great. Attrition wise, like going 70% toward me, and scenario wise for going toward me. It's just the problem is like I lost like half an hour on a feed turn and
yeah, I know, right? Most of us have the same problem, but because I'm new to the game, I just like before the Masters, like a week before, I realized that there are some more important things to do if you want to win a game. And if I play casual, I still am trying to do my best with every turn, every activation, even if I'm going to lose the game. But on the tournament, it was totally opposite. And there was actually a game that went down to the clock. I was playing Arhein, a guy from WTC team. He was playing Grimkins. And I'm still not sure if it was his game plan or not. But the game went that I started and went up front, and he was playing very cagey, like almost in the kill box for 4 rounds. And I started scoring even that I started the game. So after that, he, in 5th round, I believe, he throwed all his army into the zone. Like I could kill everything. Okay, so I looked at it and I was all right. I'm going to kill you now. And then in the middle of the turn, I realized that he's probably playing for the clock. I looked at my clock, and you are playing Grimkin, so you are analyzing all those arcanas and what he can do, what he cannot do. And I started to panic because my clock was running out. I had like whole his army at my nose, and it was 5th round, so a lot of clock was burned and I didn't know what to do. So then I started planning my time, planning my activations, and analyzing what can I do, because there are some things like you need to do threshold checks or need to resolve fire effects, continuous effects. So it takes time and you cannot skip that part. So I started analyzing that and playing as fast as possible, doing only things I have to do. And I won the game with like 6 seconds on the clock. And I think it was the best lesson for me for future rounds, because he showed me another game style, another way to win the game. If you are down with the matchup, you can just play KG and throw things just to contest the zones, and then clock your opponent by giving up your army and keeping your caster safe. So the only way he can win is to take his time to kill all the things you throw at your opponent.
Yeah.
Yeah, the most important thing that we learned during the playing of Warmachine, while playing Warmachine, is that you have to sacrifice the pawns to get the results. That whole army, it's like chess, can be lost, even if it brings you a shachmat or checkmate or whatever. Right?
Yeah, exactly, because it's not really intuitive for players that come from other games, because every game I've played before Wargame, of those points that you kill affected the end result. You could have a big win, a massacre, a small win, or a draw because of how many points you killed. And in Warmachine, it's something different, and people need to be aware of that.
Attrition is only a way of winning on either scenario, assassination, or time. Attrition is not a game win condition, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Just a mean to the end. Okay. And do you make any after game analysis? That's after the tournament. You were going back, and have you changed? Have you thought about changes in your lists or things like that?
Yeah, unfortunately, I wanted things to, I wanted to chill out from the tournament, but all the time we were going back from the tournament with our local group, and another day and day after that, I was analyzing my games. I like I said, I put a picture of a trophy on a Circle Orboros community group. And they asked me to start a blog, and I did that. It's Warmachine for all those of you that are interested. Okay. And I've wrote battle reports for local players. I've wrote battle reports there on my blog. So do you want it or not? You are analyzing the games if you are trying to write them down for a meaningful battle report. So I did that. I was thinking also about changing my lists, but not in a context of another tournament, but just what can I play that will ask my opponent the same question as Baldur does, and who's not Baldur, because I hate playing him. He's so boring.
It's like Striker 1. We just push something forward, and it's armor impossible, and
yeah, exactly.
I play the most boring game ever, like Striker 1 on Striker 1 on WTC, so I know how it feels.
Yeah, 3 colossal bases on both sides.
Yeah,
nothing happens. Okay, and do you have any tips for new players if they want to start playing Warmachine? Because you are pretty new still, so.
Yeah.
They want to. Should they be? What they should be afraid of?
What's the way to success in 8 months to a Masters winner?
Yeah.
I would say
in 10 words.
Yeah, I would say don't do it. Don't do it. Like, it's not worth your time. But if I need to really say that, I would say play a lot, spend a lot of time watching battle reports, ask a lot of questions, like your opponent, what after the game, what you did wrong, what should you do to win the game, and what he was afraid of, what he was thinking, because not many players ask the question like that, but it's important how your opponent thinks, what's scary for him, like you would imagine something is you couldn't kill like his caster, but he was thinking that you could. So just ask the question, what puts the pressure on your opponent and what he is afraid of, and that's it. If you play a lot and you spend a lot of time reading about the game, analyzing your games, and that's important. I think writing battle reports, writing down your games and analyzing them is a game changer. And if you do that, you will find your way to success.
The question is, how many games a week do you play? Just
it depends.
Maybe different question. How many games did you play during the 8 months, approximately?
No, it's really hard to say.
You haven't noted them down in a battle report?
No, I started doing battle reports like maybe 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, so not a long time ago. At first, I was playing 2 games a week, and before every tournament, I'm trying to play every day. I'm trying to find someone to play with me. It's not, we all have jobs and things to do, so not everyone got time.
Tell me about it. I'm trying to find somebody to play every 2 weeks, and it's not easy.
So I'm fortunate enough that our local scene is really alive, and we can play every Thursday 2 games at least. And I'm taking it. So every Thursday I'm playing 2 games, and if I can find someone to play with me in the weekend or during the week, I'm always taking it. Like before the tournament, it's always like my priority. It sounds funny, but it really is. I'm trying to force my schedule around the games, not the other way around.
Yeah.
So I would say at average it's 3 games a week.
Okay.
But
so it's not like we had guests like Mark David or Pat Danford or who else did we have?
Jarle,
yeah. So they play like 7 to 10 games a week.
No, but I think if I calculated correctly, he played around 100 maybe. I think it's possible.
But in general, I think that approach is healthier for a long run.
Yeah.
Because I always do the same, that before a bigger event, like 2 or 3 weeks before, I play a lot. And then after the event, I go back to playing maybe 2 games a week. Because you cannot keep up your life with your life and a hobby if you play every day for long. And it gets boring. So for the long run, it's more healthy to.
It's like
play
like
2 games a week.
Like with getting high, you are getting slowly higher and higher and higher. Then you have the peak period during the tournament. The clock con was a great example that I played, I think 14 games in 3 days, 2.5. I played from 9 to 1 9 in the morning to 1 in the night. And after that, you take a break. And then again, you start to get higher and higher and higher on the high of the Warmachine. And then it's again the peak. And then you try to do something different. And after the tournament, you have new ideas about because you get bored with one list or something like that, and you are trying to find something new, right?
Yeah, you need to keep the game exciting and fun because it's the main goal. You are not going to make money out of it or be like famous because of Warmachine. Like you will be famous, but in like 100 or 1,000 people in the world, nothing more. So it needs to be fun. You need to make it fun. If it's not, like, take a break and stuff like that. And there's a saying that higher highs give you lower lows, and I think it's good in this context.
And always you can try to compare. If you play Warmachine, I mean, really, that you know the rules and everything. I have a friend that is playing 40k, and he tried to convince me to play 40k. And I read some posts and some information about the game and the state of the meta, and And I embraced my Warmachine love with whole heart, I would say. if you start the game and before even starting the game you know who won, even in Warmachine it's not so easy, but it seems that in other systems it's possible. But we are not going to rant about 40k for sure, so sorry for that. Just a comparison. I'm not going to ask you about the venue because it was organized by us in Poznan. It was in the shop, and the venue is okay. I think it's manageable. The problem is that we cannot eat there because this is the rules, and we cannot drink beer also because this is the rules of the shop. But besides that, it's pretty not expensive. And
but let's say it's not always in this venue. So if anybody wants to come to the next tournament, it's maybe a different venue, and then you can drink beer.
Yeah. I mean,
so don't be afraid to come to Poznan for tournaments because it's not always drinking forbidden.
No. We are trying to organize at the end of 2018 some kind of bigger event that will be, I suppose, in November, but we will advertise that on the podcast and on the website and everywhere else.
Do it in the same time that ClubCon on.
Yes. Okay, maybe different time then. Okay. Yeah. Oh my God. No. Okay, sorry. It will be the different time. So much.
I have to teach you everything. No, it's not only me, but if you want to make an international event, doing it during the time when another two big international events are happening, because in UK you've got Blood and Oil and you've got ClubCon. Yes. And then you make a third international event that only Polish players will come to.
Yes, that.
So it won't be very international. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I have to tell you everything. God damn it.
Okay, let's go back to our topic subject and represent, because I was playing also in the tournament. We managed to play in the final and I lost, so Tomasz won. But the question is the faction representation. We talked about Orboros being the most popular faction, I think. Then there was Kriegs. Did you see anything else interesting, Tomek?
As faction goes, I'm really always looking for convergence of Cyrus. And
we have some players in Poland.
Yeah, we have. And I don't know, like every faction is scary for me. So I was just looking to be good in mirror match because there are a lot of Orboros players, and I was trying to have a good list against Convergence because I think they are still a boogeyman of our meta. Maybe because of our Polish champion, he won with Convergence. So there is this thinking behind it that it's really overpowered, right?
Yeah, but you are meaning Hero or Shep?
Yeah, Hero.
Okay, but he was playing Mercenaries at the event this time.
Yeah,
it's his true faction, I would say. Convergence was for WTC because it's overpowered, like you said. Not really, but it's really strong and ask something that usually most of the people cannot answer.
Yeah, most of the people are not preparing or not tweaking their list to Convergence because it's easy to dodge. It's very possible that you will never face Convergence.
Yeah, probably. I wanted to be able to play against Legion because there were 5 Legions in the tournament, and I think Orboros is suffering from Legion matchup because they have access to Rightbane, which gives you blessed weapons, so they can avoid your Roots of the Earth on your Baldur lists and kill your Waldraff easy. They have mostly longer threat ranges, and other than that, they are quite similar. So they do the same thing that Orboros do, but a bit better. Obviously, it's not like that exactly, but I'm always afraid of Legion matchup. And before the event, I've played against a B2 matchup that we put a lot of clouds on the table. No forests, and we decided not to roll who goes first. We decided that Legion player goes first, so every aspect was on his favor. I wanted to play in worst possible case scenario against Legion because I was so afraid of it. So I lost that game, but it was a really close one, like 1%, like 1% difference between final outcome. So yeah, I was preparing for that, for Legion, for Convergence, and obviously for Kriegs, because it's a boogeyman, right?
Yeah, I mean, there was 5 Kriegses or 4, or something like that. There were quite, I think, 3 mercenaries. Polish meta is only dominated by hordes, compared to, like, normally you go to events in States or in Europe, and you've got 70% or 80% of Warmachine. In Poland, it's often 50-50 or something like that. I think at our event it was something like 50% was hordes, but Poland was also always special for hordes. So that's the idea. The list that you play, I will try to put on the website of Discount Games, and
I think I will link the tournament so people can see the list, and I also link the blog. Your blog to the podcast as well.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So people can see your games, because we are running out of time, so we will not be able to talk about the games themselves
the highlights,
in detail.
The highlights,
but you have described the games on your blog, right?
Yeah, there are only 2 games right now. I decided not to put my master games from Masters because I didn't take pictures. I wanted to stay focused, and so. But they are on Polish site in Polish, so I guess it's worthless for our public
international listeners.
I think that it would be nice if you can write a summary of the games. Maybe not if each game really described point by point, but some kind of summary, the highlight and the thing that made you win the game, that could be interesting in English for the people.
All right, I'll do it.
Because it takes 30 minutes. It's not, but the highlights are always the most important. The catch-ups and the fuck-ups and things like that.
So now I will make a shameless plug of warroom.pl blog, and that because I'm the worst blogger ever. Like, if you look at Jarle's website, or whoever knows what they're doing when they're blogging, they got like picture of every turn state, and I've got like five round game, like 3 pictures done, and not really good ones. So I mostly remember what I've done during the game, so I can describe them pretty well. But I'm really bad at taking pictures, so you've got like every 2 or 3 rounds 1 picture. So not really best blogger in the world.
But Musha's blog is much more interesting. But yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, so we hope that the summary will be much better, and we hope that we will have an opportunity to. Because we want to do the Orboros dojo, because nobody is doing that. So we will have maybe some new listeners. So we hope that we can invite you in the future to have a list dojo with us about the Orboros, the weaknesses and the strong parts in the more exclusive way, just about not the tournament, but the Orboros. So there will be for the future, for the Orboros players, there will be something to listen to in the future.
So just from my experience, you should not play 2 casters in Orboros. Wormwood is one you should not play, and Kruger 2 is second one you should not play.
All right.
Those 2 are really not good. Wormwood after the nerf is totally
worthless.
And he's worthless now, and Kruger 2 it was never good and will never be good. So don't play them. Just play Una 2 and play Baldur 2. They are very good. You should play them all the time.
All right, I do. And if you think I'm the right person to do the dojo, I will be happy to do it.
Yeah, sure, because it's every person has their own opinion and point of view. And if you play enough games, and you told them, and we can see that you played enough, and you have some, results also. So it's really okay.
we have a dojo series for each faction. One let's say one podcast that we were about to start since a couple of last episodes, and we never get to it because there is always a better topic for to start. But at some point we'll get to those, and then one of those will be Orboros.
And one of the first ones.
Yeah.
Because
probably,
I think we
will be Okay. There is a lack of
the first dojo
international presence.
I think the first dojo should be about Trollbloods.
No.
Yeah.
You'll have to find a new host for that.
No, I will be asking myself the questions and answering to them, okay? I have some models of Trollbloods, but I never found the
Funnily enough, just before those series of podcasts with Trollblood Dojo hit, I found on not eBay but on one of the websites selling models a very good deal for a lot of Trollbloods and Legion. And because I've got a little Legion and I don't have any Trollbloods on my shelf, I said, all right, the lot is at very good price, so I'll buy them. If this happened after I listened to like 8 hours straight Trollblood Dojo, I would never buy those trolls.
But the good thing is you won't probably lose a game against them because you're so dojoed.
But
probably.
They are not really.
So I know Madrak 1 was like 70% of the dojo was Madrak 1.
Yeah, but he's really cool. I mean, he's in a really obvious and strong kind of way, right?
Yeah, he's like a meat mountain in your face. If you can deal with it, you're fine. If you can't, you're not fine. So
Orboros is more interesting for sure. That's
gear check caster. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So back to the topic. If you could sum up your like Masters games like in few minutes, what could you tell us about that tournament?
So about every game in short, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like something like this.
All right, so I'll try to do it. The first game was against Mercenaries, and I've played against the guy before in the tournament. He had the same two lists that he had back then. So he lost a game with the first one. It was Magnus, so I knew he is going to throw the second one, and I probably went second. I don't remember. It was the Pit 2 scenario, and it went down to he left his caster with upkeep on it, and I had 2 World Words and a Fulcrum full of Fury to shoot her down. But I failed. Like it was 99% chances I will kill her. I would probably kill her twice if I had average rolls. But it was a festival of Snake Eyes, so I failed to assassinate her. But I was fortunate enough that my opponent clocked himself, trying to win the game by scenario, because I lost a turn trying to assassinate his caster. It was probably a worthless turn. So yeah, it went down to the clock, and he failed to manage his clock in the sixth round. So one down. The second game was against Una 2, so it was mirror match. I wanted to try my Una in Call of the Wild against Una in Devourer's Host. It's a Tarn theme. And I knew he had Hunter's Mark and Gallows Grove that was an arc node for him. So I knew his caster good enough to know what I need to kill to to make him suffer. So I killed Lanissa and Gallows Grove, throw pure blood for it, but I knew it will be the first thing that will start to my attrition game, and it went down to attrition. I attritioned him down. He was left with only a caster and a one dude, and I had almost all my army on the table, and won by points. I believe it was turn 5. The third game was against a Protectorate player, a Menot player. He was playing Resnik 2, so I couldn't throw Baldur at him because of the spell. I forget the name. It's Spell Piercer. All right.
Yep.
And the game was very cagey. Like he started and he just advanced forward very 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 cagey. Yeah.
He was playing infantry, Resnik, or
yeah, mostly infantry. It was a Devote and Scourge of Heresy in his battle group, and the rest was Temple Flameguard and Coir and 2 Rex, Vessel of Menot, and something like that. Anyway, he was playing very cagey, so I decided I'm going to do the same. I advanced forward and stayed out of his threat ranges, so he moved a bit forward. So I decided I'm not going to sacrifice anything and moved forward, keeping my feet for when my alpha is going to really matter. And then he throwed his cavalry at me because I forgot about boneless charge. So the next turn I was down. I was really my whole game plan was ruined because he started. I was the one who wanted. I wanted to make the first hit at him, the alpha, but I forgot about boundless charge. So I took my phone and started calculating my chances to kill Resnik with one Griffin, and it showed 92%. So I went for it, and I won by assassination. I believe it was turn 3 or 4. So that's my third game. The fourth game was against Grimkins. The player, it was WTC player Arcane.
Arcane, yeah.
Yeah, and I was talking about this game earlier. So 4 rounds of not doing anything, and then he threw all his army at me and tried to clock myself, to clock me. Yeah, but I managed to kill all those pieces that were really threatening me, and to keep my caster safe. So I won. The game ended on 7th round, and I won on points.
Okay.
The 5th game was against 2 Tayets, so another WTC player, and the guy you were talking about, that's really good, and he's playing Warmachine like since forever.
So you just summing it up, so far you had really luck in your matchups, and you just went for easy games, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was.
For anybody wondering why you went to the top and won, it's just dodging all the way the good players.
I was really lucky because the first game I knew the matchup and the player that I was facing really well, because it was not our first game. The second game was a mirror match, so I knew exactly what I need to do.
Those two mirrors every day during preparation paid off.
Yeah, paid off, exactly. So I knew exactly what I need to do, and I just did it. So it was the only game I really had control on the table, except for one moment I lost count of points. I forgot about one flag, and I could lose the game on scenario, but it was really difficult for my opponent to do that. It was possible, but the chances were, I would say, like 20%, so not a lot. The third game, I was obviously lucky because it was assassination that my opponent didn't expect and I didn't expect. Like if I didn't take odds machine and calculated it, I would never went for that. So I was just lucky. The fourth game, I wouldn't say I was lucky. Like I realized I need to manage my clock just in the time, in the right time. Like if I realized like 5 minutes later or even 2 minutes later, I would lose the game on clock because I needed the time to, like, all my army was primaled and I needed to make all those frenzy checks, right? So I needed a time to do that, to resolve all continuous effects, and there were 2 burning forests on the table, so a lot of fire effect. So yeah, and I was facing Greenkins, so there are arcanas that can surprise you. So I just realized on time that I need to stay awake with my clock. And the fifth game was against this WTC player, Tutayets. And I think before the game, I was told a lot of legends about this player, that he's so good, I'm not able to win. I won't be able to win against him any point in my life. So I started playing, and I was really cagey. I was really afraid of whatever that could happen. And I realized that I did many mistakes along the way. I gave up all my support that could score points in the scenario. So in this game state, I would get a 1 point a turn, and he would get 2 points a turn. So I realized that caster assassination is my only way of killing him. And I was fortunate enough, lucky, he didn't saw a token that I have Mirage on my Griffin, so apparition, and it was a big green neon token, so it was funny that he didn't see it. But yeah, I was lucky, and I threw assassination on him. It was also like at 96% chances, so an easy one. But I rolled really poorly, and it ended up to the last attack that I could obviously miss. So it was a really I would say emotional game, like a lot of emotions during the assassination itself. But it was a luck, and the last game was against Rafał, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was the easy one.
Yeah, I think it was one of the easiest, not because of my opponent, but because
because I forgot about the DNC.
Yeah. I could
Masters has DNC, right, and Steamlore doesn't.
Yeah, so I could just I had 2 lists, he had 1. I could look at the list and decide which is better against my opponent, and the thing is that
Rafał doesn't like to learn from his mistakes, because I just remember on ClockCon he also did forget about DNC
2 times.
and in finals 2 times in a row.
Yeah, but the game was kind of from my perspective. I looked at the list. I asked as many questions as I needed, and I thought that I would need to really do a really stupid mistake to lose the game, because I felt like the matchup favors me a lot. Mm-hmm. But many players around the table were saying that it's not an obvious win and I could lose the game. And I was just like curious, like how do you not see what I'm seeing? So I started to doubt myself, I started to doubt myself. I read through his spell list. I saw a Curse of Shadows, and I knew that he could put it on some of my model to go through it and assassinate me. So I was playing very cagey with my caster, putting Roots of the Earth on Baldur itself and keeping and camping every turn. So because of that, my opponent was just not able to crack the armor I've had, and I won on. I believe it was on the clock, Rafael.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I couldn't do anything to the armor because it was not least designed for that. So
yeah, and after the third or fourth turn, I started to winning on points because I was down the second and third turn. So then I started going back on points, and
my only chance was if I managed to roll high enough to kill your battle engine and win on scenario. It was possible, like 10%, I would say. But I don't like assassination plays, so I rarely play for that. People were telling me to play assassination, but with this setup and two huge bases on the edges, it was not possible to run around without losing everything. And Baldur is not easy to kill, so it was not a viable option. So, and you were not playing any, like you said, you were playing cagey, so that was a good play. And
and at some point, you've didn't manage to kill my battle engine, and I could restore its health. Like I could use healing ability of stones and of stone shapers to get it back in shape. But I decided it's not worth my sprays and my fury to put to really support the battle engine. It made its purpose, and it could die peacefully. I needed just to keep my caster safe, and that was all that mattered this game.
Yeah, that was the game. So really not much of the game, but that's life.
Yeah, but it was a fun game.
I hope it was not stressful too much. I mean, for a final. Okay, so thanks for the summary. Marcin, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to note, if you want to play a game and you cannot find anyone, you can always install Puzzle and play against me.
Oh yeah, I will consider that, because
I'm pretty crappy player, but if you don't have anyone to play against,
even a shitty player can be useful. Me.
And exactly. If you don't have what you like what you have.
All right.
And I can even play Signar if you want, Signar or Minions.
Okay, and I can play Circle Orboros if you like it or not.
Yeah.
The OP faction.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Oh, I actually play against anything, anytime. I even play against Kriegs and don't have anything against that.
All right, so like you said,
I'm just salty by nature, so everybody thinks that I don't like to play against something.
So we are all freaks, geeks, and all those things, because I never let down a game. If I have a chance, I take it, even if I have to face Convergence or other faction I don't really like.
Okay.
Exactly. All right, so I think that's a cast. So thank you, Tomasz, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, that was a positive thing for Circle to see the 2 wins in a short period of time.
And I would like to notify that Kriegs lost again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's too little. It's because the CID did not went in and you did not get all the buffs that you will get.
Yeah, after the CID, you will all warmly welcome your Kriexian overlords. I love this sentence so much.
We'll drop on our knees. And,
Great.
Wait a minute. I'm waiting for my Gator CID. It's like hell right now. It's like, I don't know, 9 weeks since the CID ended, and it's still not in.
Yeah.
What the hell you PP people
Yeah,
are doing?
I know.
It's not holiday
I know
yet.
what you feel. I've started collecting minions army and ordered Dracodile to start playing them after CID. And I'm also nuts because it's not up yet.
Okay, so you have a next topic about minions then.
I don't know anything about them.
Minions are bad. Don't play minions. Don't read about minions. You don't want to know anything about minions, people. They are bad. They are the worst faction. And I'm coming for you.
I Dark Horse.
Yeah, I sold him minions because of the Dark Horse potential.
Yeah. But as I told you as well, the Dark Horse potential ends when your opponent knows your Dark Horse. Then you stop being the Dark Horse,
and you're just not a Dark Horse.
Yeah, and you are just a little pony fighting against a Goliath.
Okay.
And you forgot your rock and a sling. All right.
We will try to record one more podcast this year to summarize our podcast, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
Christmas podcast.
In between Christmas and New Year's, we will have, all of us will have probably a lot of free time. So maybe we'll get together and make a podcast.
Okay, thanks a lot then.
All right. Thanks a lot. And bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to Boxcars. I hope you liked it. See you